Craig.
You know, this incident began in one part of the county and wound up in another state. Let's show you a map right now so you can get a feel, perspective. It began at Wheeler Elementary in Jeffersontown. Mr. Davidson allegedly commandeered a car, took a woman and her two small children hostage at that point, forced them to the west end, an undisclosed location where we are told he raped the woman in front of her two children in the van and then forced her to drive to New Albany, where at that point police say Davidson made the woman get out of the car and knock on the door to the home of Emily Terrence, where he then burst in and held Emily Terrence hostage. So the entire community has been impacted by this event as it continues to unfold today.
Police are now waiting for Mr. Davidson to come out of the house, or they will go in. We're going to take a break right now. We'll go back and get the latest from the scene in just a moment. Stay with us. District Association, which is coming up on Monday.
That's right. Sunday night and Monday, I have the telethon right here on Wave 3.
Okay, we'll be there. Thank you, John. We're going to continue our special coverage of the standoff situation that is unfolding right now in New Albany. If anything happens, we will go back there immediately. Welcome back to this extended version of Wave 3 First News.
We've got a standoff situation going on right now in New Albany. Nel Taylor is there live. Nel, what's the latest?
The latest is we're still waiting for the police officers to make their move. Earlier today, and we have video of this, they fired, and it was just before 5 o'clock tonight, they fired tear gas canisters. As you can see here, the SWAT team was sneaking up on the house, which is on Jackson Street here in New Albany. They went up with their shields to the windows. They broke the windows in on the first floor of the house, and then they started firing. There were a barrage of shots, probably 30, 40 shots were fired. They were all canisters of tear gas fired into the house by the SWAT team from the state police. They made this decision because they felt like this was dragging on too long. Earlier this afternoon, after Jesse Davidson had taken his wife's aunt hostage, he released her after about 4 hours. Since that time, they had been trying to negotiate with him, trying to let him or convince him to come out of the house, trying to convince him that they would not hurt him, but they could not. Okay, at this time, we just found out they are breaking down the door to the house. We cannot see from the vision from where we are. We cannot see the front of the house from where the police officers have placed us. We are going to try to get a camera over there in order to do that, but they took the battering ram out earlier, as I reported. Now they are trying to burst through the house. Now, if you're looking at this scene, straight down this road, turn right at the canisters. The house is like less than a quarter of a block down by the canisters. Okay, they are telling us that we have to move out of their way. They're going to bring an ambulance in. Apparently, they have broken in the house and found Mr. Davidson inside. Are you going to bring the ambulance through here? Can you get by us? Okay, no, never mind. They're not going to bring the ambulance in. As you can see, there's plenty of activity down there. And across the tape, relatives have been waiting all day to see how this can unfold. There was even a tussle with police earlier when the tear gas canisters were fired. Running toward, as you can see in this tape, the officers ran toward the sounds of the screams and tussling with police. The family started running toward the barricades. When they heard the shots, they were afraid that he was being harmed. The SWAT team members ran down the street in order to calm down the family members and make sure no one was injured. At this time, as I've said, they've taken the battering ram to the door. They've broken in to the front door. And we do not know yet what they found inside. They have an ambulance sitting here ready to go, which is behind our camera. In front of our camera, you see Griffin Street. The first street to the right is Jackson. That's the street the house is on. We are behind the house.
Now, did the police officer who motioned at you earlier, was he telling you that the ambulance was going to come through or to make way in case it had to come through?
They told me that first make way. I want to tell you, Melanie, we are trying to set up another camera so you can get a different angle of this action. They will tell me when that camera is set up. We have our live camera, another live camera, running toward a location where we may have a view of the house so we can see what's going on. At first, they motioned us out of the way because we are in the middle of a road here. We're in the middle of Griffin Road that's been blocked off all day. They motioned us out of the way to tell us to make way for the ambulance, and then they said, no, no. Yeah, here comes the fire department. We have to move a little bit, so forgive what's happening to the picture
all right.
here.
It's live TV. One thing we want to say to people, this
and
is
there they go.
part of the reason we're bringing you this coverage is because an entire community in New Albany has been evacuated. People are not allowed to go home if they live in this neighborhood, which includes Griffin, Cherry, Hildreth, and LV Street.
It's also a story that's affected several communities across Wave Country, from Jeffersontown to West Louisville to New Albany, in this particular community where this story is.
I have some more information.
Go ahead, Nel.
I'm sorry, we've just heard they have called for the coroner. One of the officers shouted out, "It's over, please send for the coroner." So apparently this did not have a good ending. Perhaps we are thinking the tear gas canisters were fired in the house. No bullets were fired by officers. However, Mr. Davidson was armed, and officers believed he could have harmed himself. Apparently that's what happened. He apparently shot himself. We don't have any confirmation of that. All we have heard is that they have asked for the coroner.
He had, in fact, earlier in the day threatened to hurt someone if he could not hurt his wife.
He has threatened. We are on our other live camera. I cannot see what they are seeing. Yes, I can hear. They are looking straight down the street where the fire truck has been going, and toward the front of the house. This scene is that you can see officers going inside, and apparently, from what we've heard, Mr. Davidson is dead.
This standoff has now been going on for several hours. Now, how long have you been there?
We answered the call at 11 o'clock this morning, and apparently it came into the police department around 10:30. So it has been quite some time that these officers have been out here, and the family has been out here. Her family and his family have both sat this out on the other end of the road.
Do you know where the
families
are? Do you know where the families are now, Nell? Have they been moved to a separate area?
No, they were not moved. They stayed there with the police officers. They were calmed down after there was an altercation soon after the canisters were fired, and they remained down there. I was able to see him. I know that his sister, I attempted to talk to his sister earlier today. She was quite emotional and obviously did not want to talk, and I can understand that. But his sister has been here all day. His wife's cousin and aunt have been here all day. The sister of Emily Terrence. Emily Terrence is the one who he held hostage earlier today. I'm trying to see. I see one of our photographers running up this way. Let me see if I can find out what's happened. Just a second. Can you tell me what's happened? Duck, okay, what we're doing right now is getting video back to our truck in order to show you what occurred earlier today.
The shot from that other camera, we might want to point out to our viewers now, we saw, and you can see the police carrying a fan right now toward the house. As you mentioned, numerous canisters of tear gas were fired into the home, so much so I would imagine that it is difficult for the coroner and for other investigators to get inside. We saw them putting on gas masks trying to get inside the structure in order to see for certain what indeed has happened in there. Mr. Jesse Davidson had threatened violence. He apparently carried